we thought we'd bring on one of our newest advertisers. And this is an interesting one because have you ever struggled to share your faith in the workplace? Have you ever had those conversations with people and you've thought, I don't really know what to do here? Well, have you heard of Work+Go? Because if not, you're about to. And joining me here in the studio live is Naira. Good morning, Naira. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning. Well, thank you. Early in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but I'm here,
Eight,
awake.
early in the morning, 8:05.
Yeah.
Have you got children?
No, and that's why it's
No.
early in the morning.
And that's why. And so tell us all about this because, well, first of all, let's set the scene. So people, they believe in Jesus, they're Christian, they love their career, but what happens when you combine them both? Because that can be both exciting, but also a challenge, can't it?
Yeah, it can. I've worked, I'm an occupational therapist, so I've worked in the NHS for about 20 years. And I've gone to church. And church has been very keen to sort of say I'm a Christian 7 days a week. But I've struggled often to work out, well, how do I be a Christian at work? What is my role at work? And sometimes what it can be minimized to is you go to work, you be a good person, and you make friends and connections such that you can bring them to church. And the role of being at work is to evangelize and to share the gospel with other people. And it is that. It is that. I'm not saying it's not that, but it's more than that. We're called to be Christians in how we go about our work, how we see our work. God was the ultimate worker. And so being in the workplace sort of 5 days a week is not a distraction to our faith. It's actually where we get to live out our faith.
And working in the NHS, I guess is quite a struggle, isn't it? Because certainly there's certain jobs and occupations where you can't openly share your faith. And, you know, my wife works in the NHS. And you've got to be very careful, don't you?
Well, I don't know.
Or do you not?
Well, I often challenge that because I think it depends what you mean by careful. If we mean respectful of other people, if we mean courageous and kind and thoughtful, then I don't think we need to be careful. There's always a time and a place for everything. If you're an anaesthetist and you're putting someone to sleep on an operating table and you decide to share Jesus with them at that moment when they're at their most vulnerable, that's silly.
But it's also a bit weird, isn't it? I think sometimes as Christians, we sort of allow ourselves to just be a bit weird. And it's like, you wouldn't do that with anything else. So why would you do it with your faith? It's just all about, and that is what we try to achieve here at the radio station, is to be normal people.
Yeah.
You know, normal people who are Christian.
Yeah.
And to take away all that weirdness.
Yeah. So I'm an occupational therapist, and so I work with patients all the time. And I remember talking to a colleague of mine years ago, and she's from a Catholic background, and she was working in she's Australian like I am. She was working in Ireland, and she said all the old dears who were coming for their hip replacements, all they worried about was how they could kneel in mass. So she got to have a conversation about, with this new hip, how are they going to get to church? How are they going to be able to kneel down? Now, she never thought of it as an opportunity to share the gospel because that's just not her her worldview from a sort of a nominal Catholic background. But she was sharing her faith and encouraging people in their faith without even realizing she was doing it because it was just natural. She was just meeting a need that they had raised and working out a way how to encourage them as how they could kneel in church. Now, I'm thankful that as a Protestant, I don't have to kneel in church. But there's other ways in which we can share our life and our faith with people in church, people in work. That doesn't have to be awkward and difficult. Just like someone at work shares their love for Manchester United or some other football team, We can share our
Some
love.
other football team. I like the fact that then you went, I've heard of Man United, some other football. Anyway.
I know there's a second team in Manchester. I just can't remember what it's called.
Oh dear. We will see the lines light up now. But the organisation that you're with are called Work and Go. And they've got three aims, three simple aims. And in fact, do you remember the aims? Should we put you to the test?
Yeah, we seek to affirm. So we want to affirm the value of work. That's a test at 8 o'clock in the morning, isn't it? We want to affirm the value of work, that God is a worker, that God created work, that work is part of what we were called to do in the Garden of Eden, that work is part of what we're called to do here and now. Work will be part of what we're called to do in the new eternity. So work is God-given, and we want to affirm the value of work. We also want to then equip Christians as to how to be effective workers in the workplace. And our third, so that's equip. And then our third aim is to send out. We want Christians to be sent out into workplaces across towns and cities of the UK and across the world. So we want to inspire, we want to affirm, and we want to equip and to send people out.
I'm glad you remembered them, because if you didn't, that'd have been very embarrassing. But you did very well.
Thank you.
So you've got this event coming up in Manchester. So we'll be there. We're really excited for it. It is on the 4th of November. And you can go and read up about this, and you can get your tickets by simply going to workandgo.org. But tell us about this, because it's exciting. Why did you choose Manchester?
Well, very good question. What we want to do is to not be London-centric. So we want to acknowledge that people live in lots of different places in the UK, not just London. So what we did was we made a concerted effort not to choose London. So where else would we choose? And Manchester is geographically central to the UK. So it's easy for people to get across from Northern Ireland on the ferry, which some people did last year. And we want to meet people, and encourage people in regional parts of the UK. So therefore, Manchester. So nothing to do with the football team.
Well, when you are in Manchester, just be careful about what colour you have a conversation about, because it could turn very, very quickly. So this is in Manchester, and it's a great opportunity, this. And what we need to do is to support these kind of events, because a lot of work goes into these. You and the team will have been working very, very hard on this, and I know how much work it does take. So if you go to the website, which is workandgo.org, and you've got different seminars, haven't you? And well, all sorts going on. Is there 4 sessions? Is that right?
Yeah, so the morning starts with plenary sessions. So we have 2 speakers, Daniel Ginn and Sarah Hunter, and they're going to open up in a plenary style, and they're going to share about their work, and their role is to affirm work and affirm the value of work. Then people will split into seminar streams, and their seminar streams are based around what we call their area of influence. So the area of work that they are in. So there's 6 streams. And I always forget one, but one of them is the Luke stream. So Luke being one of the authors of the Gospels. He was a doctor, he was a writer, he was an educator. And so the stream for Luke is education, medicine, research, anyone who's in that sphere of influence. And so we then have 2 co-seminar leaders for each stream. And so they will bring some of their experience. So we've got 2 for the Luke stream. Ellie Harvey, who has just got back from spending 6 months in Central African Republic as a pharmacist for a humanitarian agency. So she's worked in the UK for many years as a pharmacist and wanted to go overseas and go internationally and cross cultures and take her profession with her. Now, that in the past in the churches has been seen as a choice between your church and your faith and your career. And what we're wanting to say is, no, they go together. And when you're out there, in her case, the Central African Republic, she's got an opportunity to share Jesus with people who may have never have heard of Jesus before. The second speaker in that is a lady called Liz Prince, and she has spent some time in India. She's a doctor, and a pediatrician, and she went to India. Her husband had a role there, and so she then found a job using her career in the British Embassy in India. And so she will talk about what that looked like and her experiences working in the NHS, but also crossing cultures and taking her job internationally, and the opportunities that she had to share the gospel. We want to start a movement with what we're doing in Work+Go, and we want people to see that they can cross cultures in their workplace, across their street, and across the world. We want to pull down this divide between secular and sacred, and we want people to see that they can have a successful international career and be a follower of Jesus and be involved in the Great Commission of taking the gospel to the ends of the earth. And so that's what makes this event different from all other events. We've partnered with London Institute for Contemporary Christianity, LICC. Now, LICC are known for their workplace ministry and their desire for the gospel to be shared. We've also partnered with OMF, which is a Christian mission agency, who are known for sharing the gospel in East Asia for the last 160 years. And we've partnered with Climate Stewards, who are looking at how we do creation care in and through our workplaces and through our work. So the event is a culmination of these three really important ideas of work as important, crossing cultures, and the Great Commission of reaching the gospel to the ends of the earth and crossing cultures to do that, and doing it in a way that is sustainable for the planet in which we live. And I don't think you've ever heard of an event that pulls those three things together. Our last session, once we finish the equipping seminars, we're having a guy called Andrew Scott come out from the USA. Andrew Scott's a fantastic inspirational speaker. He's Northern Irish, but we don't hold that against him, but lives out in the US. And he wrote a book called Scatter Global. And if you've got the idea of in the New Testament, when Stephen was stoned, the result of Stephen's stoning is that people were scattered all over the earth, and the gospel went with the diaspora, with the people who were scattered. Well, his idea in his book is we have an incredible opportunity to do that now. There are Christians who are in the UK who are totally armed with the good news of Jesus and know what it's like to live out their faith as a Christian. So why don't we scatter them across the globe? And what would happen if missionaries were not just people who went with church support to do Bible translation and church planting, but what if Christians went out with their careers paid for by IBM, paid for by HSBC, paid for by the British Embassy, paid for by humanitarian agencies, and that was the way in which the gospel seeds were sown across the world. And so he's going to be our last speaker to sort of encourage people to go out, to use the God-given gifts, abilities, and opportunities they have to share the gospel and to live lives of flourishing.
And you'll fit all that into one day.
Yeah.
Good going with that one.
It's a big day. We've got a dinner at the end where people, and last year was the first time we ran this event, and people came to the dinner at the end and just loved the opportunity. We say to all our speakers, we have 16 speakers coming. We say to them all, your role is to meet with people, to chat with people, to share your life, to share those gems of information that you've learned over your career. And so that dinner is, and then another opportunity in the evening to be able to sit down with people and to share things, to nut things out, so that people are already leaving the day thinking, what can I do differently on Monday morning? How can I think about my job differently? I don't have to go away from this conference and go, oh, how do I integrate this into my life? They've done it. They've thought about it, and hopefully built some networks such that they're able to then go forward. We want to connect people with things like the Christian Lawyers Fellowship, the Morphe Arts for people who are Christians in the arts, with Christian Medical Fellowship for those who are in the health field, because there are peak bodies helping people to be effective Christians in their workplaces. And so we want to be doing that as well. So it's a big day. There's lots going on, and there'll be some worship with some music that has been written by a guy called Andy Flanagan, which is specifically worship as we think about how we worship God in and through our work.
Tickets are £59.
Yes.
And if you go to the website, workandgo.org, easy to remember, you can find out more. You can find them on the socials, and hopefully we'll be seeing you there. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
And if you join up for our newsletter and an early bird offer, you can get £10 off your ticket. So it goes down to £49. Right. So all those details are on the website. And the event is at the Manchester Radisson Park Inn Hotel with really lovely coffees and pastries and a buffet lunch all included in that ticket price.
I'd say that place is one of not many which is actually nice in Manchester.
Yeah, yeah. This will not feel like a dodgy Christian event. This will feel like a corporate work event. That is the vibe we're going for. If you went for a conference in your workplace, that's the vibe we're going for. We want you to feel comfortable. There's good coffee, there's good pastries, and there's a great buffet lunch. There's no dodgy sandwiches and Nescafe, I can assure you.
Well, what more could you want? It's all on the website. You head over there and book your tickets. And remember, if you sign up to the mailing list, then it's £10 off. Workandgo.org. Naira, thank you so much for your time, and we'll hopefully see you there.
Yeah, wonderful. Look forward to it.